Well, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
excited
for
y'all are
having us.
here. I'm excited y'all are here. Would you like to introduce yourself and we'll kind of get started there?
Yeah, I'm Nathan Tucker, co-owner of Rocket City eBikes.
Yeah.
And I'm Ash Moore, co-owner.
Yeah. So I'm super excited that y'all are here. I think I've got to know both of y'all over the last couple of years, probably the last year or so now, maybe more. It's crazy how fast time is flying by. But I know y'all's backgrounds are pretty unique. Prior to Rocket City eBikes, y'all have done a lot of different things. But you're both originally from the Huntsville area, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So talk a little bit about sort of what your background was like after you got finished with school. Like what did life look like for Nathan and Ash prior to all of Rocket City eBikes, and what were y'all doing in the Huntsville area and beyond?
Yeah, I'll start. I got out of school and went out west for a little bit with my wife. She was on an internship at that point. So we lived in Seattle and then moved to Denver shortly thereafter.
Okay.
And then that's about the time I bought the ring and came back to Huntsville.
Came back to Huntsville. There we go.
Married, yeah.
Like all family was in Huntsville, so you all kind of knew you were going to come back eventually.
Yeah, we're definitely blessed in that area. I think all of my family's pretty much here in Huntsville,
Okay.
which has been really cool. So we started a family after that, had a couple girls, and then off to the races. And then I gravitated to working for myself. So I started a construction company in,
Oh, wow. Okay.
in my early 20s. And then that paved the way to real estate. And
Wow.
then long before that, I met Nathan, but kind of a huge circle to get to where we are now.
And Nathan, you've traveled the world. I mean, you've been all across Colorado, like everywhere. So talk a little bit about sort of what life looked like after you finished up here in Huntsville and kind of what you were doing kind of prior to coming back here in the last few years.
Sure. I grew up in Huntsville and really never wanted to be in Huntsville. And it was always
Huntsville wasn't cool enough at the time.
wasn't cool enough.
Yeah.
I had dreams of different places, moving out west, and always thought that's what I wanted. I didn't have a lot of direction. I just had a lot of vague dreams, probably.
Feather in the wind.
Yeah, I was definitely a feather in the wind. Still have a little of that, but I'm growing out of it finally.
You're settling down a little bit in Huntsville now.
Definitely.
But you mean I know you were a ski instructor in Vail, Colorado for a while.
Yeah, so that was actually the last thing I did before moving back to Huntsville. I guess it's been about 2.5 years now.
Wow.
Before that, I kind of stuck my toes in the water of university after high school.
Okay.
It didn't stick for very long. Joined the National Guard. Ended up in Iraq for a little over a year. When I got back, I was like, okay, I'm ready for school. Went to school, University of Alabama, and then finished up there and went to Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And worked for a while and just started growing bored again, I guess.
And had a little bit of a travel bug, I guess, and you kind of got out and explored a little bit.
Yeah. And ended up landing in Taiwan.
Wow.
Where I spent about 5 years. And awesome experience.
Wow.
Definitely recommend people travel when you have the chance. It's just life-changing. From there, moved back to the States and ended up in Colorado, which is kind of crazy. I was planning to go to Colorado just before Taiwan. I wanted to be a ski instructor. And then Taiwan kind of happened from a lot of there were several reasons why it happened, but I ended up there and then really didn't think I would ever leave. When I finally did, I was like,
well, now I got to be a ski instructor.
Yeah, I got to do this other thing that I gave
Wow.
up on. So I went and did that for, I believe it was 4 or 5 ski seasons.
Wow.
It was awesome. Living in the mountains can be rough. I think at the age I was at, just the social aspects of it can be challenging. Ended up in that time. Well, let's go back. Just before I went to Iraq, I had been working at the Ledges.
Yeah, and that's how you met Ash.
That's where I met Ash.
Okay.
And we hit it off pretty quickly and had a lot of common interest. And so went off to Iraq and then came back, and we've stayed great friends. In fact, he's my best man at my wedding next month.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah, buddy.
So we're ready. We're excited to get that going. It's been a busy year for me, a busy year for Ash.
I can remember talking to you at like 4:30 in the morning when you were in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, well,
calling you
Iraq
while you're over there. That was wild.
Yeah,
we've known each other quite a long time.
So I spoke with you while I was there, and James, another great friend of ours. We've all become friends together, and my parents, and that's pretty much it. So.
Wow.
Real close friends.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I mean, I guess like since meeting each other at like, how old were y'all when y'all met at the Ledges? Like in your 20s?
21. I think we just turned 21, right about that age.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably 2003.
Yeah, because like
2002 or
y'all
3.
were there when the Ledges opened, and they just celebrated 20 years a couple of years ago. So I mean, y'all
there
have been there.
23.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like since the beginning, you pretty much had been at the Ledges, 2002, 2003-ish, when they kind of had their grand opening. I mean, y'all
we were there for the grand opening.
I mean, we were unboxing everything for it.
That's crazy.
We were unpacking furniture. I got up there. My mom was the very first membership director up there. So she called me and she's like, "Hey, I think I've got a good job for you. You should come try this out." And,
which is crazy that y'all, like, we had like a full circle moment a couple months ago when we did I guess a month ago from recording this, when we did the Bikes and Bites event. Because like I worked at the Ledges too. Twice at two different stints in the last while in college. I worked at the Ledges as a server, as a food runner, and like that's what I did. And like it's such a funny thing that like y'all, that's how y'all met. And like it's like a full, I'm like, well, like I worked there too. It's like,
it was wild.
It was such a weird moment. We were like, this is kind of strange. And like we were talking about Colorado, and you're like, well, I was like, yeah, we go out there, we ski out there, and you're like, oh, that's where I was a ski instructor for 5 or 6 years. Like, what a weird moment of just like
because you also go out there with your
ski,
family.
Yeah, and it was such a unique thing that it was like, how, like, what are the chances that all these things are kind of aligned with each other? But I mean, like y'all have kept this friendship over the last, 15, 20 years.
Yep.
And then now you've kind of had this idea to kind of you finally get back, Nathan, to Huntsville 2 years ago or so. And what were you doing when you got back to Huntsville? And kind of like, what were you, as you get back into the swing of things, back to a place that you grew up at, but you hadn't been living here for a very long time?
I'll tell you, he was trying to get out of here as fast as he could.
No, not when I moved back, but when I would visit, I was like, I'm not staying. But over those years that I was in Colorado, I realized I kept coming back, hanging out with Ash. I was watching the city grow. There was a lot of exciting things happening. I really didn't see it initially, excuse me, but as I continued to visit during those 4 or 5 years, I was also growing tired of the effort that it was taking me to exist in Colorado, not only to afford it, but just it's a harsh environment.
I don't even think you said what you were living in at that point.
Oh yeah. So at least like there were 3 years in there where I came home to visit and I was like, it's so expensive to live there. We don't make enough money. I'm living a dream, but financially it's tough. And I was like, I want to live in a van. So Ash Construction, I was like, you want to help me build a van? We were excited. It took us way longer than we predicted because we admired our work. Every time we did one section of it, we just stood back for a week like, look how awesome this is. And it was awesome. We built a beautiful home in a Dodge ProMaster, which I lived in for 3 years.
Wow.
I lived in the Rockies. It was insulated like a Yeti cooler. And
that's super cool.
And
so what did you end up doing with that van once you like either came back to Huntsville? Did you sell it in Colorado?
I sold it in Colorado.
During COVID.
I sold it. No, it was before.
Because y'all took it up.
I still had it.
Y'all went up the East Coast and then around the top of the country.
So COVID hit. I was living in it, and they shut down the mountain, and I didn't have anywhere to go, and everything was kind of weird.
Almost like no job at this point, too.
No job. So I just traveled to, I believe, 43 states and rock climbed and mountain biked.
What?
It was
like out of a movie.
Pretty fortunate for me. I know a lot of the country the world was really struggling with the idea of the unknown, and I just kind of embraced it. and
Just explored.
lived outside
Wow.
and explored national parks, and
That's awesome.
it was a lucky situation.
So over the course of like a year, you traveled 43 states?
No,
or
I did that.
what-
I did that probably about 6 months, 7 months.
Wow. So like every state, you were basically there for a few days, maybe a week or two.
Yeah, about a couple weeks,
yeah.
some just like a day or
Yeah,
two.
like you just drive through like, hey, I've been to South Dakota, got it, check. And then
that,
on to the
that
next
was one of them
Yeah.
that I did
Yeah.
that with.
We last, I guess, about a year ago, I flew out to Vail area and drove back with my sister-in-law. She needed someone to ride back with her. And that was like, we drove through all the, like, that was such a cool experience. And
what path did you take?
we went up through, like, it was basically straight through Kansas.
And then Interstate 7.
Yeah, and then when the year before, I went out to Bozeman, Montana, and drove back with my cousin, and that was also a lot of fun. Like South Dakota, Wyoming, North Dakota, all of that. That was super cool. It's like I couldn't imagine that being your life for 6 months. Like I was like for the 2 days we drove, I was like, really glad I'm home.
Yeah,
like that's awesome.
It's a lot of driving.
It's a lot of driving.
I was home.
Cool. But yeah, and that's true.
It was super comfortable. I had running water. I mean, it was awesome. I had a queen size bed in there, I believe. No, it may have been full size, but it was plenty.
We made it pretty schwanky.
It was pretty schwanky.
Yeah. So and like I just like that's such you like you had traveled the world basically before then. You get to Colorado, you kind of feel a little bit settled in. Then COVID happens, and you're like, well, I'm eventually probably going to move back to Huntsville. Maybe I don't know, but for the next 6 months, I'm just going to travel the country.
Yeah. Well, I had nowhere to go in Huntsville really because even my family, everyone was a little like cautious.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I would ever come back to Huntsville, but I do think COVID was a catalyst because it became more exhausting in the mountains because of all the caution that was taken. So even the next winter when I got done traveling and went back to instructing, it was a little bit harder.
It wasn't what you had been used to for the last 5 years.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was
and they
different.
were doing what they needed to do.
100%.
But it was difficult. And Ash has really helped me out seeing opportunities that I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
One of those was real estate. I had an opportunity to buy. My grandfather passed away, and had an opportunity.
That's what cut you short, really, during COVID. You'd have probably been in Mexico right now.
I may not have come back.
You were all the way up in the Pacific Northwest when Pawpaw passed away, and you ended up flying back.
I drove back actually, really as fast as without stopping, and got back, and obviously didn't want my pawpaw to pass, but as I was here with the family and we were going over the house and things, I had an opportunity to purchase that house. I was initially looking at just working on the house to make a little extra money, and Ash was like, "Why don't you try and buy it?" I was like, "Oh, I haven't really thought of that."
Yeah.
Turned out to be a huge blessing. Obviously, it was right before the explosion of real estate.
Interest rates were probably great at the time for you when you got that, and like the opportunity just to get. So like, was that sort of like at that time when you were back for dealing with all that with the family stuff? Was that the longest sort of stint you'd been in Huntsville for the last couple of years?
It was.
I mean, I'm assuming you had to do a lot of stuff family wise during like probably the course of a month or so. So you were probably here for a lot longer than you had ever been.
Definitely, and for sure. And I while I was here, I was like, oh, they're building the Orion. That's cool because Ash and I both are really into music. So Huntsville never really had a good music scene. Didn't have a big art scene. So I saw that was happening. I'd seen Low Mill, which was exciting. And just obviously a lot was happening here. So when 100%. I got back to Colorado and I had this home that I was renting to other people, and I was in Colorado and it was difficult, I was like, Huntsville's looking pretty good.
Yeah, Huntsville's a pretty cool place now. And so, I mean, like, so I guess, was this like, I guess 2021-ish, end of 2020, beginning of 2021?
Probably about that time.
I did. So the mountain shut down in the early spring when COVID happened, and it was the end of the spring the following year.
So 2021-ish.
When I moved back
here.
and decided, hey, Ash, which he also sells real estate. I was like, I'm ready to buy a house for me to live in.
Yeah.
So he was helping me out with that, found a house, and here I am.
Yeah.
And I love Huntsville. Ended up finding my future wife in Huntsville, which that never would have happened.
Yeah.
He actually bought my granddad's house.
Yeah, so I bought your pawpaw.
Yeah.
So I bought my pawpaw and Ash's pawpaw's house.
There you go.
So
Within a year of
So
each
now you have a
other.
rental house and you have your like a house you live in.
both of which I've spent a lot of time in prior to
Yeah.
buying the houses. I mean, Ash and I spent a lot of time in his pawpaw's house. So I have both of these now.
Wow. And so you come back. You're still doing construction, real estate stuff at this time. You come back. You begin working at Fow Wow. Actually, that's how we met.
Right.
Like shortly after you started at Fow Wow, Jonathan and you got lunch. So I can't remember when that was, but I remember us.
It was
having
early
lunch.
on.
It was early on. It was like shortly after you had just gotten back. You're doing the real estate construction. When did this idea, this like light bulb moment of, hey, we could start a Rocket City eBikes, like e-bike rental, eBikes in Huntsville need to be a thing? When did this first sort of happen?
I think the light bulb probably happened like early spring of last year. So 2022, early spring. But like the light bulb came from Nathan. I was the finger holding it on the off switch for a long time. It took him, a few months of convincing me.
And then it was 9 months total
Before
till we
made something of it.
initiated, we created the business entity. About 9 months.
Wow. And so like, I mean, I'm assuming did you see, e-bikes being very popular when you were in Colorado and just like that travel aspect, and you saw Huntsville kind of growing and like they needed something like this, or where did this idea initially come from?
It came while after I was back in Huntsville, but it was because of a moment. Two things. I was in Colorado. I had been telling my parents, hey, in the fall, you've got to come out. We've got to go to Maroon Bells and see the yellow aspens. And they have a flexible enough life to where they could book that trip to make sure they got there in the 2 weeks of the aspens, which if you haven't done that, make sure you do.
I think that was around the time I was out there last year, was when everything was turning yellow, and it was just a beautiful,
gorgeous.
amazing. It was like one of those things. I think the amount of photos I have on my phone of just yellow trees in the course of my like 3 days out there were just like, and every tree looks a little different, but they're all just like beautiful. Like it's
So
just
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah. So I was like, y'all are coming out. We said, yes, this is going to happen. This was, I don't know, probably in my second year out in Colorado. My parents came out. We went into Aspen. I brought my mountain bike, and we planned to rent them bikes. And we went to a rental shop one day, and the guy was like, hey, I got these e-bikes. You should get them for your parents, and you can ride your mountain bike. So I was like, that sounds great. Did that. We rode all over Aspen all day. And of course, I'm exhausted. I mean, I'm coming back it's time to go to bed. Give me some food, give me a bed.
Yeah.
And my parents were just like, well, this is wonderful.
What else are we doing today?
Yeah, well, let's keep going. And I was like, wow, that was cool, because there's no way we could have spent that many hours. My parents were in their 60s with them keeping up with me. Instead, I struggled to keep up with them. They could have left me at any moment.
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, that was cool. Fast forward to when I'm in Huntsville, Ash and I are dreamers. We come up with ideas. I mean, we could just come up with ideas all day. No shortage of ideas. And my friend down in Florida, who's also in the wedding, Dean, he was telling me how he had just bought an e-bike. I was like, really? Because up until that point, I was like, I don't ride e-bikes because I'm strong.
Yeah.
Kind of a purist.
Yeah, purist.
Yeah, I can pedal myself. Like I
can
good.
do this.
Yeah.
And we hear this from people all the time until they get on it.
Never pedal again.
Right.
Never will pedal again.
And actually, we have a picture of Ash and I. We go fishing on the Elk River, and we have pedal kayaks so we can fish while pedaling ourselves down the river.
There you go.
It's the only time we pedal.
So we say, at some point we'll put a post down and it'll say, yeah, we pedal sometimes.
Yeah, just
but
only when we fish.
Right, only when we fish. So he was telling me about it, and he's like, man, it's really awesome. And this guy he doesn't cheat himself when it comes to fitness.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? You're doing that? Okay. And then my life had slowed down on the physical aspect pretty drastically. So I was like, I think I'm going to get one. And so I was in the process of ordering one, and I was like, between my parents visiting and now, everywhere my parents visit since then, which they travel a lot, they rent e-bikes. It ignited that for them.
Wow.
So I was like, someone's got to be renting e-bikes in Huntsville, right? I mean, Huntsville's cool now.
Yeah, it's growing. There's places people like downtown is a bustling area. People are visiting all the time, and you started Googling. I'm guessing you found nothing.
Nothing. And I call up Ash. I'm like, I'm going to start this business. And of course, I didn't think it all through, but I was like, I'm going to do it. It'll work. And Ash was like, oh, you think so? I was like, I think it will.
Devil's advocate. Start asking hard questions.
And then once we dive into it, we both play devil's advocate a lot, but we took 9 months. Ash, obviously, he's got a family and 2 businesses and quite busy. And I was like, hey, this has got to happen. I'm going to find someone else. I've got to work.
He really held my feet to the fire.
And I didn't want to go bite off a typical 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I mean, it may happen.
Yeah.
It may happen, but in that moment, I wasn't ready to, and I wanted to see where this went. So we did a lot of planning, a lot of projecting, and we still learned that there was way more that we didn't think of over the last year
than just renting e-bikes.
Right.
There's a little bit more that has to happen before you can just rent an e-bike.
Absolutely.
Or, have the ability to rent an e-bike or anything like that. Sell e-bikes and it takes you 9 months to kind of, put all the paperwork together, get the company, the entity, a thing. When did you become, what did it look like when you first opened your doors, made the first post, began actually serving the Huntsville community? What did that actually look like? And what was the response you were getting from the community?
The first thing we did to kick off was awesome. It was the Mardi Gras parade. And
that was after the grand opening or before?
I think we had the grand opening, and then maybe we had 2 weeks in Mardi Gras. So that whole first month was just, busting our butts to get the shop looking pretty and get some decorations on the walls, because we had
into a small space.
We had the product, we had the rentals and stuff, and that's really where we just started. So it was all hands on deck 24/7 too.
We started before we were ready. A lot of it was like, we've got to get going,
it's kind of
because of the weather, and
it's turning nice.
Yeah, it was turning nice. So,
and it's only about a 9-month business anyway when you're running just rentals. So, we had started it in the winter, so we had no income coming in. We're just throwing money at the business.
You're just buying more rental bikes. You're buying all the equipment.
That is not something I like to do either. I want to see the money come back as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So then, when spring hit, it was, hit the go button and get after it. And so we blindly just did it. And that's kind of what we're best at, I'd say, is, we both, like Nathan said, we're big dreamers, but no lack of confidence either.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how you, good way to treat business is just, roll your sleeves up and get after it.
Yeah. And I think at some point, you could work till an idea gets to 100%, but if you start rolling out something at 50 or 40% and you get feedback, it's better off than you getting it to 100 and then getting feedback that none of it actually really works.
Oh, man,
and then
absolutely.
You're like, well, I spent 6 months longer than I needed to get this to 100%, when in reality, the people aren't actually wanting it that way. They want it this way.
Exactly.
And it's like, you would hate to work that far ahead and be like, okay, this is the best idea. And then you present it and they're like, this sucks.
Yeah. And we actually had a business plan I may actually do it a little bit differently, but our business plan was proof of concept, very minimal spending, and then take off and give it that 100. But
yeah,
looking back in hindsight, always it's easy. Probably the full investment right off the bat and just go for it. Maybe even spend an extra 10 months and really launch it even harder. But it's been nice. The feedback from the community's awesome. I think a lot of people here in Huntsville maybe don't know that they'll like it.
Yeah,
But we
100%.
really haven't had anyone, once they actually do it, who turns around and is like, nah, not for me.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single person.
No.
But certainly we've had people, a bike.
Yeah.
I've ridden a bike before when I was a kid.
It's like, this is not the same.
It's not.
Like,
As you know, because you joined us.
And so like it was so like we did the Bikes and Bites, which y'all you've partnered with Hound and Harvest.
Right.
So like if someone's listening and they want to get like their first taste of an e-bike, they have that opportunity to kind of do that.
Good thing.
It's it was an awesome experience. It was so funny because it's like, I'm not the biggest bike rider myself. Like, my wife and I have a house in 5 Points, and we're like, we've talked about getting a bike. It'd be great to go downtown on a bike rather than driving our car, like all these different things. And then I did the Bikes and Bites, and I remember riding and never pedaling. And I thought, why in the world would I buy a bike I have to pedal to go downtown? Yes. Like, that just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And I was like, I can go anywhere. I can come to my office on days that I don't have to wear nice clothes. I can go to downtown. I can go to Taco Mama. I can go anywhere.
Anywhere.
And it's like an 80-mile range on some of them. It's like, I won't have to charge it for months. Like, it'd just be like,
exactly.
Just go on a ride.
Except after you have one, you're going to ride it that
All
much
the time.
more. You will have to
Yes.
charge it.
But
I mean, Ash and I and our friends, we meet up at my house off of Airport Road. And when we're going to shows at the Orion, we ride from my house at Airport Road to Mid-City. We park right in front of the gates. We come out, there's traffic everywhere. We hop on our e-bikes and we're out. And it's amazing. It's the best way to go to a show. So we will rent you a bike for a show.
Interesting. I've never, I guess, and one thing that I think was the education aspect of the Bikes and Bites that I didn't realize, or like I've seen but never really understood, is just how many bike lanes and bike trails there are.
And designated bike roads.
Yes, and there's roads that connect from basically anywhere to go in. Like there was the amount of bike roads and lanes and stuff like that just from y'all's location off of Meridian to Hound and Harvest. I was like, there's like 12.
Right.
Like they're all over the place.
At least they may not be the bike lane, but it's a road that's cars also travel on. That's a designated bike road, which
sure.
I didn't realize those existed. The signs are all everywhere. They're from past County Line Road, all the way into Hampton Cove, North and South Huntsville, and people don't know they're here until you see one, know what it is, and then you see them everywhere.
Yeah. Is the commute from Airport Road to the amphitheater, like, I just, in my head,
it's
I'm
awesome.
It seems amazing, but it's a pretty, it's a decent commute.
Yeah, and it's fun the whole time. So we go basically behind Crestwood, through Piedmont into
downtown.
The medical district.
Yeah, Piedmont
downtown.
Medical District, downtown.
Left on
Holmes and just take Holmes all the way down.
Holmes all the way down, up and over.
And it comes over Bradford, and then you bust that right.
And then onto UAH's campus. Yeah. And then we're in Research Park and pull right in. It's awesome. People, when you say that to them, they're like, what? And they're like, yeah, come do it with us. And they do it, and they're like, oh.
This is it.
Got it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what obviously we're near the end of last quarter of 2023 right now. We're recording this episode on the 19th of October. So if you're listening to this episode, it should probably be in December when this comes out. But what does the business look like over the last few months? And what are some things that you're looking to hopefully kind of, accomplish, get to completion by the end of the year? And then maybe what does 2024 look like for Rocket City eBikes?
So the business has definitely changed. Like we were talking about, rolling out, not 100% complete, getting the feedback from the people. Like we said, people come back grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
Where can I get one of these? And initially we started as just a rental company. But the more and more people that came back kept asking, where do we get these? So we turned into a sales company at the very end of July, 1st of August. And we've been selling bikes since then. So the company totally took a turn for the better, obviously, because we serve better, hopefully make more money and give the people what they want.
Because after they try, and I can see. I was as we were finishing up the Bikes and Bites, I was literally asking y'all what would one of these run, and I was at I feel like if the entry point to somebody to try an e-bike, the rental is a perfect spot. You can rent it for the day. You can rent it to do the Bikes and Bikes. You can just go downtown. You can get on a nice Saturday if you're off on a Wednesday, whatever it might be, you can take it and try.
You take a great ride
Yeah.
for as cheap as $20.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, now what if I could do this all the time? And then you're able to now partner and say, hey, actually half of our shop is actually for you to buy your own bike. And like,
Right.
here's some bikes that we recommend. And here's how they differ from what you just spent the last 6 hours riding. And here's the ways that they're going to benefit you a little bit better. And here's, all the different aspects of them, the different elements of them. And I mean, I think as y'all walked in today, you said that you've already sold a couple today.
Right.
Like
Yeah, it's been a busy morning.
as we were just here like on a Thursday, you've sold a couple bikes. And I think that's one of those things that's like, it seems like it's a market that you'd think Huntsville would have had prior. But it's really like y'all are basically setting the stage for what Huntsville knows about e-bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And admittedly, the rental business is in the long run geared towards visitors.
Yeah.
And we did a pitch for
Singing
Singing
Trail.
River Trail launch tank, which we happened to win that competition,
Wow.
which is a huge jump start for our business.
It
And
really was.
they blessed us so much because we also got business coaching out of it worth thousands of dollars. It was just huge, but we knew that it was about visitors, and we had looked at reports of like 3.7 million visitors come to North Alabama, really the greater Huntsville area
Yeah.
every year now,
Yeah.
which to us seems insane, but
Yeah.
we were like, okay, there's a lot of visitors coming, and then started thinking about sales, and we're like, are we going to sell our customer a bike and then they're not going to come rent from us?
Yeah.
But the way we see it, the more people in Huntsville who are on e-bikes, the more visitors and other people in Huntsville
100%.
will either be like, man, look at this cool stuff, and they'll want to either rent
Yeah.
or buy.
I mean, I think there'll be people that will only do a bike rental from you and will probably never own one.
Sure.
There's people that
there
will,
are some.
and they're completely okay with that.
Yeah,
There-
we've definitely
and there's
had some
also
repeat
people,
business
yeah,
doing that.
and there's also people that will have family that will travel, and they might own their own, but they're going to come in and do a rental because everyone's doing a rental
Right.
at the same time. So like stuff like that, like there's things like that, they're just going to happen. I mean, like literally before we got to do this podcast episode today, I was leaving lunch downtown and I saw two people on y'all's bikes, and I was like, what are the chances? Like it is such a, and I think that's those conversations that have to be had. Is like the more and more people you see riding an e-bike, is the more the question of, oh, I wonder where I can get an e-bike in town. I wonder if there's a place that rents them. Oh wait, there is. And like you filled that interest with people, and and now they're like, okay, like I could see myself riding an e-bike, or I couldn't see myself riding one, and then let us get you on one. And you'd be like, this is pretty cool.
Absolutely. And another aspect of our business is we are solely an e-bike company. So if you want a normal bike, we aren't the right people for you.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We're the only solely e-bike company in town. There's a lot of good bike companies in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a long history of good service, good reviews. And they, because of the forced demand, have started to carry e-bikes. But we were like, let's be the guys who carry the e-bikes in this price range. And that's all we do. And so we currently have the largest selection of e-bikes, and especially in the price range that
Wow.
we're in. So that's our focus, and the rentals is just an awesome part of the business that they just tie together super well.
Yeah.
One steps to the other. Really well.
Yeah, really both ways, because like you said, someone buys one, they have friends who are local who aren't sure if they want to get one,
Yeah.
or visitors, they rent to go with them, or just the visitors in general.
Yeah. And like as Huntsville's growing as much as it is with the music scene here in Huntsville, I mean, there's going to be the amount of visitors that are coming. I mean, like we go to quite a bit of concerts as well. And the amount of conversations you just hear from people that are like, oh yeah, I follow this band around. I'm from Georgia. This is my 12th show.
Absolutely.
It's like, there's people like that, are either from bigger cities or whatever it might be that expect some level of, when they go to a place, they expect to see certain things and have the opportunity to do certain things. And one of those is probably, taking a bike around downtown. Oh well, like you can why pedal? Just you can rent an e-bike. Like that's such a it's more of a unique thing for a visitor. They can cover way more ground way more quickly.
And downtown's great now
Oh,
too.
it's amazing.
I mean, we're really blowing up down there, and there's just so much to go see. We normally send people right down the bike lane and into the park, and then take a lap around the park. But then you've got Old Town right after that.
Yeah.
Just some of your Adams and McClung and
Yeah,
Eccles
it's hard to beat.
some
Like
of those streets are just
like I love walking those neighborhoods,
unbeatable.
but you can cover way more ground when you're on an e-bike, and you're just kind of like hanging out. You're just enjoying yourself. The weather's nice, and you're just having a good time.
For sure. And not to take away from the pedaling part, because you can
still pedal.
you can get as much exercise as you want. You can have as much resistance as you want, but it still allows you to travel further. And so you can go until you're like, oh, well, I'm wiped out. But then you don't. You can get back.
You just throttle. You're good.
Yeah, you're good. And I have people call me who are like, hey, do you rent regular bikes? I'm sorry, we're an e-bike company only. And they're like, oh, I can't find a regular bike. And, they're what I would have considered myself, a purist.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, I get it. I totally get it. If you don't end up finding a solution, come see us. We're going to help you understand how this can work for you too.
Yeah. And you can still pedal like a normal bike.
And they come in, these purists, they rent a bike because they have no other option. And then they come back and they're like, you know what? I think I want an e-bike now.
Yeah.
And so it's just really cool to see.
We send them right up the backside of Montesano Mountain. So
Bankhead Parkway into Montesano.
There.
Up with the e-bike?
From our shop, you can easily ride to Montesano Mountain State Park. You need to come do it with us sometime.
Interesting.
And that's the
Lance Armstrong.
Up. I mean, yeah. It's straight up.
Serious grade.
Don't go Governors, but Bankhead Parkway for sure. And people are like, really? I can ride up there? I'm like, yeah, this bike's gonna pull you right up. And so they come do it, and that I would say at 50% of our rental customers go to Montesano Mountain.
Easily.
Really?
From our shop on the northeast corner of
nobody
downtown.
thinks they can do it. And you don't wake up on a Saturday morning saying, I'm going to go pedal up Montesano Mountain.
Zero.
But you just trust me a little bit.
Yeah.
And you turn the throttle and you go straight up it. And it's a great half day.
Yeah, I had a guy come in to buy a bike this week. He did end up buying one. But he was like, look, my big thing is locals will know it. You'll know the name of the road, but locals call it Suicide Hill.
Mountain Brook.
Mountain Brook, which is in Blossomwood neighborhood.
Real steep.
It's the steepest hill in Huntsville that I know of. I mean, it's steeper than like Doug Hill entrance. And
it's definitely
it's super steep. I mean, the road's very textured because a car won't get up.
Yeah. The Cotton Row race runs up that hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gnarly.
So he comes in and he's like, this is really, he is in the middle of that road, his driveway. And he says, I see people from the neighborhood riding up this on bikes. And he's like, what is going on here? And then he realized it was an e-bike. So he came to us and he was in the shop. He had narrowed it down to a couple bikes. He's like, I really just needed to get up that hill. And I had never done it before. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to bring these two bikes over to your house, and we're going to give it a go. This was 2 days ago. Showed up over there, and sure enough, I went right up the entire hill.
Both of them? With both bikes?
With both bikes. Okay. So he still had the same difficult choice to make.
He's like, well, now which one do I get?
And so he ended up with one. I left one there. He almost bought two of them. I think his brother's going to end up getting the other one, but...
wow.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I was like, I need to go do this anyway. I mean, we really try and go above and beyond for our customers in that way. But I was like, I need to do this specific hill.
Because everyone knows it. Like
everyone knows it. Yeah. And from now on, will it get up this hill? It'll get up every hill.
There's no hill that will be an issue.
Right. At least those two bikes.
Yeah, at least those two.
Will.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And he ended up being just he's like a spitting image, a little older than Ash and I, but he listens to the same music. He's got his whole garage set up. It was just a cool experience, and we love getting to meet more people in Huntsville. Ash has never met a stranger in his life, but
I've not. This is a cool way to meet people too, and you're meeting people of like minds, right? So if you're on a bike, you're getting outside. You're not a couch potato. You're probably fun.
Yeah.
Or at least you want to be fun. And you're not sure how.
Yeah.
It's probably the funnest part about the business is just that it's a laid back company, and when we established our core values, we threw customer service at the top, but one of them was have fun, and this is a real easy business to do that with.
Yeah.
And tying back into the story of my parents coming to visit, we keep seeing that creating the ability for people of all ages and abilities to adventure together is a huge part of who we are. And we keep seeing it over and over again. It'll be, hey, my husband still likes to pedal his bike and I can't keep up with him anymore, or vice versa. Maybe the wife can pedal and he can't keep up. They come to us and we're like, this is what we're here for. And it's really cool to see. And then, to be completely honest, they both typically end up buying a bike because it's their first time riding an e-bike.
And that's what I know for a fact, because I was like thinking about getting me a bike. So I can take to the office and go downtown. And I was like, well, if I get a bike, my wife's going to want a bike. So I'm going to have to get 2 bikes. So like, I'm like thinking through all this in my head. It's like, it's one of those things. There's so much. It's like when someone has, it's like the same effect that if someone has a new convertible car and it's like it's a perfect weather day, you just can't help but getting in the convertible to go drive around.
Absolutely.
Right? Same thing with like an e-bike. If it's like a perfect day, if it's a nice day,
like
today's beautiful. Like you almost just like want to get on the e-bike to go somewhere. Like you might not even have the need to go anywhere. Like there's really nothing you have to do today. But when it's a nice day and you have an e-bike, I feel like it's like, I'll go.
Another effect that it has, if you are, feeling like you didn't have to go to work today, you get your e-bike out, at least you get to start and end your day riding an e-bike. And then work doesn't seem as daunting.
Yeah. I've like, taking it to work is something that I'd be super excited to do, just because there's, and like now I'm like, I can easily take the bike from our house in 5 Points to the Orion. Like I'm thinking through all these different places I can go now.
Yeah. And you might even show up at work like an hour early because you're like, I just was so excited I couldn't sleep.
Yeah,
I want to
just
get on
ride my
e-bike.
e-bike. Yeah, just can't help it. But so if anyone's, so this episode, like I said, is going to come out in December. So anything happening in the kind of the Christmas time frame that y'all are going to do giveaway wise, or anything else going on internally, and then kind of what if someone's listening and they want to connect, they want to do a bike rental, they want to look at buying an e-bike, where can they find you, connect with you, and all of that? So
to connect with us, Instagram and Facebook are the biggest places right now. So follow us on Instagram. I guess it's at Rocket City _ e-bikes, I believe. Mm-hmm. Facebook,
Rocket City e-bikes.
Rocket City e-bikes.
And then website. We
also have a website. Bear with us on that one. It's geared. Right now the website is all about rentals. So moving forward into next year, we plan to roll out a new website that you can actually get on, see our inventory, and you could even purchase. We really recommend people come in, and we want to be transparent and give you all the information so you can make an educated decision and let you ride them. But
for sure,
we will change it to that. So you can get on our website. You can subscribe on our website. Definitely follow us. We do all kinds of things. One of the things, or a few of the things we're doing, is the Bikes and Bites tour. We don't have the next one scheduled yet, but we plan to continue to do that and hopefully add other restaurants in the future. And we also, ongoing right now, is date night, which is also with Hound and Harvest right now.
Okay.
So normally we charge $60 for 3-hour rental. Well, for $65, not only do you get a 3-hour rental, but you also get any entree and any dessert. That would be a self-guided tour. So you could stop in at Hound and Harvest anytime. You'd have to look at our website for the times because I can't remember them. But it's basically afternoon and evening.
Perfect.
For the date night.
It starts at like 3 o'clock.
3 to 8 maybe.
Get the steak tacos.
Oh, steak tacos. Shout out to Hound and Harvest because we love those guys and their food's amazing. And they have a really cool place to hang out. You can pull your bike right into the backyard.
Just ride right in.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then we do promotions, giveaways. We'll be, on our social, we'll be telling about other tours we'll do.
Perfect.
And then the big thing is a big giveaway. So in December, is it the 15th or the 16th?
I think it was the 15th.
So I believe the Saturday December 16th or 15th, whatever it is. The Saturday will be a drawing for a free e-bike,
Wow.
a new e-bike. Now the cutoff to enter will be the day before that, so the Friday before that.
So the 15th, I think, is a cutoff, and
I believe that's
y'all are
right.
picking on the 16th.
Yes, and
This episode should come out on the 11th of December, that Monday. So if you're listening to this, you should be able to enter into the
Still
giveaway.
got 4 days.
Right.
Still got 4 days.
yeah. So the way to enter is to purchase. Every $20 spent will get you an entry, not on the purchase of a bike. So it would be going towards rentals or gift cards. So you can buy a $20 gift card, use it as a stocking stuffer. You need some last minute Christmas gifts.
Great gift.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a great way. I mean, it's a great stocking stuffer gift. So $20 will get you an hour. It'll also get your name into the hat for a free e-bike. So if you come in
There you go.
and spend, you could spend $1,000 on gift cards. You're going to have a lot of entries.
Buy one e-bike, enter into win a free one, and then you have 2 e-bikes.
I
Right.
can't wait to give that away. That's going to be so cool, giving it away the week of Christmas.
Except you don't, just to clarify, you don't get entries for purchasing an e-bike.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll change that.
200 entries.
Right now, now
you
it's,
could win.
it's for gift cards and
And
rentals.
rentals.
And
Perfect.
gift cards can be used for purchasing a bike or for rentals.
Perfect.
Either way.
Gift cards
so-
for e-bikes are going to be great this holiday season because, I mean, it's not your pair of socks or your phone case or anything. It's something really cool that you can give away that
It's an experience.
it's an experience.
You're giving away an experience.
Yeah,
And purchasing e-bikes for your significant other, I think, is going to be a hot ticket item this year. I mean, e-bikes are blowing up and people want them. So
yeah, for sure.
don't wait too long, because I'm sure things are going to get back ordered in the world of e-bikes as they are with every other industry. But as far as the giveaway goes, while it's not free, you do get something guaranteed for the money you
for
spend.
sure.
So it's not just $20 to get a ticket. You're paying for an e-bike rental, and then your name's going in a hat.
Yeah. So and we'll have all their information in the episode notes. If you're listening and you want to find out more, there are links to their website, links to social media,
phone number.
all that great stuff, and their location will all be in the episode notes. You can find out more information there. But I appreciate spending the last 47 or so minutes chit-chatting about Rocket City e-bikes. I know time flies by when you're on the podcast and on the headphones, but
It really does.
it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to see what 2024 looks like. I'm excited to kind of continue to see more and more of the purple helmets all around downtown riding your e-bikes.
Yes.
And if you're listening and you haven't ridden an e-bike and haven't done it, you should definitely check out Rocket City e-bikes. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Clark. Beyond Rockets is awesome, and we really appreciate being a part of it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.